There, of course, as you saw Maageketla talking about the bustling township of Alexandra, where overcrowding is a reality, where people complain that electricity pylons are ignored and there are open cables. Alex, often in the news, the banks of the dangerous Jukskei River also continue to be occupied, and then we see flooding and people's homes just wrecked, basically. Tensions between shack dwellers and formal house residents also simmering. Let's take you live now to Maageketla, who's standing by in Alexandra Township. And yes, Maageketla, there's just a myriad of issues here.
Yeah, quite correct, Francis, and good evening to you and our viewers. Francis, I can tell you that, many of these issues that we tabled there in that package, there is just more, in fact. And I can tell you, in fact, that we are, of course, coming to you live from Alexandra Museum. This is where you get to see the history of Alexandra back in the day. And of course, for the benefit of those who don't know this area, this is the area that was established in 1912. And a year later, we understand that about 40 families came through. They stayed here in search of greener pastures and just to be close to economic activities. You might be aware that Alexandra is not far from Johannesburg. And of course, we understand that this is the place where former President Nelson Mandela lived. He lived in the mid-1940s. In fact, just down here where we are, we were shown the room where he stayed. We also understand that this is the area which gave birth to former president's wife, Thabo Mbeki's wife, that's Zanele Mbeki, in 1938. Just legendary Kiva Seminya as well was born here. Not forgetting Premier Soccer League chairman, Dr. Ivan Kosa. But there are issues here, Francis, issues of housing. Housing crisis has been well documented. You might be aware that in 2019, we saw that total shutdown protest highlighting the mushrooming of shacks as a result of the need for housing. We also saw some of the RDP houses being invaded. Many of our elderly citizens still sitting or living in the backroom houses, even in shacks, while those RDP houses were invaded. That is still happening in this part of Johannesburg. But let's perhaps take you back. Those who were born here, Francis, know the story quite better. And one of them is Mr. Sekhope. Thanks so much for joining us. We see a picture of Alexandra here at this museum. Few houses. It's quite different now. Talk to us about what was Alexandra back then and the difference that you see it today.
Alexandra was a place for everybody who came from far-flung areas of the country, as you have alluded, to seek better opportunities or greener pastures in Johannesburg. And it was immediately for the extended families, because charity begins at home. Those families who first purchased their properties with £40, at the value of £40 in the early 1900s, lobbied and accommodated their immediate family and extended family. Before it became a buzzing community in the late 1920s, where it faced furious challenges from the authorities that saw it fit that immediately thereafter it should be removed as a black spot, because it was fully developed. Because in 1937, the city of Johannesburg municipality resolved to relocate Alexandra as is and budgeted for the Alexandra relocation in Soweto as is. But God's willing, that did not happen because in 1939, the budget was diverted for that purpose. The South African government joined the Second World War II on September 5, and Alex was then had to leave until today.
And just briefly, then when did the issue of housing crisis in this part of the area start? We are seeing shacks mushrooming in this area.
Housing crisis dates back as far as the 1940s, where there was emasageni, and ultimately the people were living in those made-up structures were relocated. On second attempt in central western Jabavu under the leadership of Shriner Baduza. And as the population grew, Alexandra could no longer accommodate a lot of people. But areas like development of Deep Kloof, Soweto, and Meadowlands in Soweto absorbed a lot of, in Klipspruit, absorbed a lot of numbers of people relocating, including Tembisa as well, up to the 1972s and 74. By that time, more than 45,000 households had been relocated since 1953. So that's a period of 20 years.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just want us to come into a democratic South Africa, a democratic Alexandra. You mentioned issues that started in 1940 behind you, and I just want you to give space for Okoko Peggy Koza here, and perhaps just take the mic towards her. She's got a C-form. This C-form, in it, I see dates here, Francis. Gogo Kosa, if I could just check. She applied for this RDP house in 1999 and went back to apply for this RDP house in 2008. She still lives in a back room with her husband and a granddaughter. Gogo, ngore tlhalosetse gore ditlhotlho tse le kopanang le tsona mola le dulago ke tse dife?
Re kopana le gore re fitlhile mo le ka 1990 ne le di 4 tsa kgwedi ya bo 9 1990 ra fitlhela ko Bontong, and then next gopola neng ba re ntsha ko Bontong nako teng ne sa le periebene aba ha re bua e be le re periebene a ba re agele ntlu ne le 2.5 gona ka mo ne re dula teng. Lona periebene re ba re agele ka nnete ba re agela mara ba re agela 2 room fela wa bona ra ya gona ka kwa ra dula ona mole. And then ka 2017 ba thoma hore re tswe mole e be le hore housing ya gana le ba gana ba re emele re be re kry black hone no ne le di 3 tsa September ba re tliseditse lengwalo o ka re ke sheriff le hore tshwanetse re tswe mole le na le di notice ko ra ke kgone go bala, and then re kgone go bala re a kula ka ofela ke tsamaya di doctor jwanong ba re tshwanetse gore re tswe mole ke property ya bona ba na le title deed ba na le everything, so the law ko re ba re tswe mole bona jwanong ga re tsebo re tswe re kae ne re kopa fela gore re thusiwe gore re kopa fela gore re thusiwe re kry mo re ka dulang teng re kry ntlo le rona ka gore ke gale re ngwadisitse
ke gale le ngwadisitse koko jalo ba nyaka gore le itse kwa ntlong ga re bolela ka se sebaka
na le mangwalo ke ya ba re rometse ona ka di 3 at least ke ya botomongwe ba re ke karabo a re ke sheriff ebile ke notice tshwanetse re tswe mole ebile yena a ba makala a re nanagana gore ba ra mshimane le ngwanyana ganthe ba ra koko le Mohlabe wa bona jwanong ge re emetse kore re court ke e mangwele a gona ko high court ne ke kopa thuso le Mohlabe gore ke re black.
It's a plea, Francis. She says that they were actually renting out at a place in Alexandra, and as a result now they have now been kicked out. She has got with her a sheriff letter. It's an eviction letter to say that they need to get out of that property as soon as tonight. She doesn't know where to go after this. We also have one of the residents here. She tells me that she lives in a shack. Sesi nkopa re tlhalosetse tle gore di tlhotlo tse le gore le kopana le tsona o dula le bana ka gara mokhukhu wena di jwang ene le ka go dirarolla bjang?
Ngihlala emkhukhwini nginabantwana abayi4. Ngihlala emkhukhwini onethayo ngalendlela nje ukuthi omunye wenu mengafika kunetha angabona ukuthi labantu baphila impilo enzima kahle kahle angihlukene nomuntu ohlala phansi kwebridge futhi mase kunetha kahle kahle ngize ngithi mhlambe ophansi kwebridge ungcono kunami. Ngiyasokola angisebenzi nabantwana abasebenzi lo uyafunda isikole eniyasithanda isikole umntanami kodwa makunetha ebusuku ukavuke athi ma school bag sami siphi incwadi zami ziphi azinethi na yabona avuka gijimela incwadi abheka incwadi nami ngibambe lapha nalapha ngibheka ukuthi akumoshakala kukho yini okunethayo makunetha nje kahle kahle ngeke ngicabanga ukuthi umuntu ophansi kwebridge ngibona ngathi ungcono kunami. Ngihlala la e7 number 52 umkhukhu engihlala kona unetha lokhu ukuthi makunetha ngathi ngihleli phandle nje yabo kona manje ngoba kuzongena isama ngine stress esikhulu ukuthi mayiqala imvula inetha ngizokwenza kanjani nabantwana bami. Unikwe ne-laptop esikoleni yizo zonke izinto lezo makunetha imvula fanele ngiyigade le laptop inganethi uyayisebenzisa uyafunda ngayo. Uyabona labantwana abagcwala la ngaphandle la babarasawo la akahlali lana namanje ukuthi anibone bengimthume esishop mefika endlini uthi ma ngibona abantu abasoso lapha asiye siyokhuluma nabo mhlawumbe khona bangasisiza ngakho ngithi mntana masiye ke
Ms. Shezi, they're saying that she lives in a shack with her 4 children, and what she's actually saying is that her concern is when it rains. Rains are coming through, and her concern is that obviously the shack is actually leaking. She's got a daughter here who is in grade 9, and her books that would actually get drenched in the rain waters. And what she's also saying that she feels that it's even better for those who live under bridges, the homeless that she is talking about, rather than living in a shack that continues to leak during the rainy days. And we're just going to get a sense from Nomvuselelo Shezi. She's the daughter here. Nomvuselelo, ke khopela o tlhaloshe gore wena o feel jang and the studies tša gago ba dithuto tša gago di affectega jang ge ntho tše so di direga?
Ke fela botlhoko a ke robetse ipula inetha a ke re ka tsoga pula ya netha tshwantse ke tsoge and then ke nke dibuka tsaka ke di tshware ka matsogo because a ke nyaka gore di be manzi and
okay shebana go bolela namile ntlhalosetse ga go ena pula le dirang le la stressega ko ntlong go diragang
le stressega because of konetha modimo and tshwantse gore re nke dilo di tshware ka matsogo gore di tsa metsa a never gona go kana go ditshong
ya khuluma sizulu nga wari ne
yes
tlhalosha gape gore go ena pula go diragang
mekunethi imvula kumele ukuthi sithathe into zethu sizibambe ngezandla ngoba imvula izozinetha kumele ukuthi sizibambe like i-school bag mekunethi imvula kumele ngisithathe ngisibambe ngesandla
yeah it's clearly saying that whenever it rains, Francis, they would actually try to wake up during the night and use some cloths to block the water from coming in through the roof, and in a way trying to, protect her books from getting wet from that particular water during rainy seasons. We are definitely sure that those rainy seasons are upon us, and that's the concern that she's actually facing. But Francis, we know that during this time, as you saw in that story, we have seen people continuing to build on the pavements. We've seen them occupying community halls, and also seen them continue to build on the river edges of Jukskei River. All they are saying is that they do not have anywhere to build. As a result, then they are forced to build even under those electricity pylons. We saw that protest as well. In 2019, Alex total shutdown protest. Some of the conveners are here, and one of them is Tembeni Manana. Tembeni, talk to me. I'm just going to wait for that mic to come through. Just talk to me. What have you achieved ever since then?
So the only achievements that have actually came through with our initiative of the Alex shutdown was the public protector to actually affirm our conditions as really very dangerous for people to be living under. But for now, we've only received that they've affirmed, the public protector and the Human Rights Commission have actually affirmed our conditions as not healthy for people to be living and consuming there. But we have not seen any practical moves from their side to reassure us that they are willing to actually give Alexandra a new image and actually assist us with our land issues and space issues that we're actually having today. Because we can never run away from the fact that Alexandra is the face of poverty today simply because of the housing issues that we have and the maladministration that has actually landed us up here. So the only way for them to genuinely assist people of Alexandra is for them to firstly give people their title deeds. People must have a sense of ownership so that they can actually have dignity and will be able to actually have the need of taking care of the place that they're actually living in right now. The place Alexandra has actually stripped our people of their humanity. And right now, all we need is practical solutions for our people. Administrative processes must happen and be practicalized, because only to a certain extent we will celebrate the outcomes of the commissions, but we need them to be practicalized.
Definitely. You talked about title deeds, and I know that, Mr. Sakhope, you have been dealing with that as well, the issue of title deeds. Talk to us about that, and how is it really affecting the conditions, the living conditions that we see in Alexandra?
Yes, thank you. Title deeds are a very expensive commodity, something that you will never come across in Alexandra. It's very scarce. We have challenged the government in 2004 after we have launched our land claims application. Instead, we were given something else instead of our restoration of our rights and the land that belonged to our parents and our grandparents and our forefathers. Today, we have signed a statement of intent with the City of Joburg, the Land Claims Commission, and the provincial government. So far, nothing has changed. We are still awaiting desperately with bated breath so that our title deeds can be issued, so that we can become of value to our lives and our future generations.
Absolutely. Adila Raja, you live nearby Alexandra, and you have actually been watching these shacks coming towards your houses, towards your properties. You told me in that insert that you do not blame Alex residents at all.
That's correct. I'm a resident of Marlborough Gardens. I was born in Alexandra, by the way. So this is all, you know, what I'm seeing here around me, it's all absolutely what we lived. In Marlborough Gardens in the last 2 years, the shacks have mushroomed completely. It's out of control. What the most concerning issue is the hygiene, the health. There's no sanitary, there's no proper toilets, sanitation, drainage. All of that is a problem for us. We've escalated this to our ward councillor. We've escalated this to the RD. We've escalated this to the MMC. And to date, we just don't get any, nothing, you know, our voices are not heard. We actually had a meeting yesterday with the ward councillor, and he has advised us that they can do absolutely nothing regarding the sanitation, the drainage, until they remove the shacks. But at the same time, it's not right to wait because the people are living there. So it's really a problem, it's a concern.
Councillor Mlungisi Mabaso is here. He's the MMC for housing in the city of Johannesburg. Talk to us. They've actually outlined all the issues that the city of Johannesburg seems to be failing to attend to. Talk to us. What's the way forward?
Well, thank you very much, and greetings to you, the panelists and the viewers at home. I think let's start at the beginning with Alexandra. Because, there was a pronouncement that was made by the president. There was a presidential project here. Billions were invested here. And that project was then handed over to the province, which then employed Johannesburg Development Agency to implement on their behalf.
Is that the Alexandra Renewal Project?
Alexandra Renewal Project, yes. So that project was meant to address the housing backlog in this region. Because this region, there were 36,000 people in the housing waiting list, of which only 5,000 that were allocated into these units. Then it was left with 31,000. And that does not include people in the informal settlements around and people in hostels. But in total, it amounts to 95,000. So it tells you the crisis of houses that we are facing and the challenges that we are facing in this region. So now, the project then, because it was handed over to the province, then the city of Johannesburg then had no role to play except being the implementers of the development, of which now they don't have anything much to say or to do in terms of addressing those issues, because the documents and everything else lies with the provincial government. The former Mayor Herman Mashaba tried to institute an investigation saying that there were elements of corruptions in the process of implementation, but I can't tell you how far is that investigation, because there were some documents that were missing. So some of the people that were investigating couldn't get them the hands to those documents, of which now the city then is tied up because we don't know what else to do, because we, in absence of those documents and in absence of getting to the bottom of the matter as to what transpired during the implementation and why it did not address the issue of housing backlog, which was meant to do, then we don't have anything else to do. And on the issue of title deed, I am aware that there were engagement between the city, the province, and the property owners in this area. And there are quite a few that we have issued out. I was at River Park myself. We have requested the province to hand over the process of registering title deed for Tsutsumane, because the people are asking us, and the process is being administered by the province. So we have requested them to hand over the process to the city, so that we expect that the process and issue out this title deed to our residents. And what it make it even more impossible for the city to intervene in Alex is the ministerial tax team that was set up by the president. When he came here in 2019, he made a pronouncement to say he's going to build 1 million houses for people of Alex, and not even a single house has been delivered for people of Alex. And now, as the city, we must come and account on behalf of the national government, because it was the president, in fact, who made that pronouncement. And I came in as the MMC in 2019 December. I have never been invited into a single meeting of that ministerial tax team. We don't know whether that ministerial tax team sit or it doesn't sit. We just don't know. Not so long ago, I had a meeting with the MMC for Development Planning, MMC Lawrence Koza, and then we had agreed that we need to rezone Marlborough into a residential area, because it is zoned as industrial, so that we are able to develop that area for the residents of Alexandra. But the reality is that we cannot move until the ministerial tax team tell us what we should do in terms of addressing all these issues here in Alex.
Just finally, we need to take it back to studio. We don't have much time. MMC, we are wrapping up. She's got a sheriff letter here. They are being evicted tonight. Just a yes or no, will you be able to assist her?
Well, maybe let me just give a context in the process. Because when the private landlord applies for an eviction in court, the city must be cited where there is a risk of homelessness, so that we are able to provide for alternative accommodation.
But can you attend to this issue
I will
tonight?
attend to check if then we were cited as respondents, so that we are able to intervene.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Francis, the crisis continues. to be seen here in this part of Alexandra. Many people continue to live under inhuman conditions, and that is the line by the Human Rights Commission when they investigated these issues alongside Public Protector's Office, who said that there hasn't been any paper trail with regards to that 1.3 billion rand Alex renewal project is still being investigated, we understand, and that's been investigated by the Johannesburg forensic team. We do not have time frames in terms of when exactly we're going to get that forensic report. But that's just the story of Alexandra here, Francis, is a face of poverty, inequality, crime, as well as unemployment. We will continue telling this story until something is done.
Maageketla, thank you. I mean, that's just incredible. If you think of all the houses that could have been built with that money, if you think of that elderly woman tonight saying she's got nowhere to go, she's been evicted, and she's been waiting for a house since the 1990s. It's just staggering. Let's remind you of the question of the day. What would you like to see the government do to resolve the massive housing backlog in South Africa? And tonight, we're getting a taste of the human cost, the human travails because of that housing backlog. Let's take a look at what you've had to say. Sibonelo, create more jobs and give land so that we can build houses using our sweats. Deal with the previous first starting from 1996. Nazim, first the government must deal with the awarding of tenders to corrupt individuals or companies. Malani, the budget allocated by the government must be monitored time and again to prevent those who are looting. Looting or just not doing anything, and it doesn't inspire confidence that the MMC are saying that he wants to be part of meetings he's not invited and blaming the national government for what's happening in Alex. What would you like to see government do to resolve the massive housing backlog in South Africa? Continue to engage with us. #FullView. We take a short break. Lots more to come.